Have you ever wondered why, despite everything you do, life still feels empty? Here's a hard truth. King Solomon, one of the richest and wisest men in history, came to a shocking conclusion. Everything is meaningless. Imagine having all the wealth, success, and pleasure in the world, yet finding no lasting fulfillment. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you've felt the same after years of hard work or chasing happiness, only to end up feeling hollow inside. It's a gut-wrenching realization. But don't look away just yet, because you're about to discover the life-changing truth Solomon found, a truth that can transform your perspective and fill that void. Stay with me until the end, and something powerful will shift within you, bringing the peace and purpose you've been searching for. You won't want to miss this, because this message might just be the key to saving your soul from endless wandering. The teacher's search for meaning. These are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. What do people gain from all their hard work under the sun? Generations come and go, but the earth remains unchanged. The sun rises and sets, then hurries back to rise again. The wind blows south, then turns north. It goes round and round, blowing in circles. Rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea never becomes full. The water returns to the rivers and flows back out to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are not content. History simply repeats itself. It's all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Sometimes people say, look, here is something new. But in reality, it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past, and in future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. I, the teacher, was king of Israel and lived in Jerusalem. I devoted myself to understanding and exploring with wisdom all that is done under heaven. I quickly realized that God has given a burdensome existence to the human race. I observed everything happening under the sun, and truly, it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. What is wrong cannot be made right, and what is missing cannot be found.
Hey, just a quick moment. I know this channel is new and small, but I'm putting my heart into every video to make it something special. If it speaks to you, hit subscribe, give it a like, and let me know in the comments how it's impacting you or what you'd love to see more of. Your feedback means everything and helps me keep growing.
I said to myself, look, I am wiser than any of the kings who ruled in Jerusalem before me. I have gained greater wisdom and knowledge than any of them. So I pursued learning everything from wisdom to madness and folly, but I learned firsthand that chasing after all of this is like chasing the wind. The more wisdom I gained, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only leads to more sorrow. I said to myself, come, let's try pleasure. Let's seek out the good things in life. But even this proved to be meaningless. So I said, laughter is foolish. What good comes from seeking pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. And while still seeking wisdom, I embraced foolishness. In this way, I tried to find happiness during our brief life in this world. I also sought meaning by building large homes for myself and planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to irrigate my flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and had many others born into my household. I also owned vast herds and flocks, more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, the treasure of kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom stayed with me. Anything I wanted, I took. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found joy in hard work, a reward for all my efforts. But when I looked at everything I had worked hard to achieve, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing truly worthwhile anywhere. So I decided to compare wisdom with foolishness and madness. For who could do this better than I, the king? I thought, wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. The wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in darkness. Yet I realized that both the wise and the foolish share the same fate. Both will die. So I asked myself, since I will meet the same end as the fool, what's the point of all my wisdom? This is all so meaningless, for both the wise and the foolish die, and neither will be remembered any longer than the other. In time, both will be forgotten. So I grew to hate life, because everything done under the sun is so troubling. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. I began to hate all my hard work on earth, knowing I must leave everything I've earned to others. And who knows whether my successors will be wise or foolish. Yet they will control all I have gained through my skill and hard work under the sun. How meaningless. So I gave up, questioning the value of all my efforts in this world. Some people work wisely with knowledge and skill, only to leave their accomplishments to someone who didn't work for it. This too is meaningless, a great tragedy. So what do people gain from all their hard work and anxiety in this life? Their days are filled with pain and grief, and even at night their minds cannot rest. It's all meaningless. So I concluded, there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures come from the hand of God. For who can eat or find joy apart from him? God grants wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please him. But if a sinner becomes wealthy, God takes away that wealth and gives it to those who please him. This too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. For everything, there is a season and a time for every activity under heaven. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to stop searching, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do people gain from all their hard labor? I've seen the heavy load God has placed on us all. Still, God has made everything beautiful in its time. He's set eternity in the human heart, but people cannot fully understand the entirety of God's plan. So, I've concluded that there's nothing better than to be happy and enjoy life as much as possible. And everyone should eat, drink, and find satisfaction in their work, for these are gifts from God. I also know that what God does is permanent. Nothing can be added or taken away. His purpose is that people should revere him. What exists today has happened before, and what will occur in the future has already happened, because God causes the same events to repeat. I've also observed that evil occurs under the sun, even in the courts. Corruption exists even in law. I thought to myself, in time God will judge everyone, whether good or bad, for their actions. I also considered the human condition, how God reveals to us that we are like animals. For both humans and animals share the same fate. They both breathe and eventually die. In this, people have no advantage over animals. What futility! Both return to dust. For who can prove that the human spirit rises and the animal spirit descends to the earth? So I came to realize that there's nothing better than to find joy in work, for that's why we are here. No one can bring us back from death to experience life again. Once more, I've seen oppression under the sun. I witnessed the tears of the oppressed, with no one to comfort them. Their oppressors wield great power, and the victims are helpless. I concluded that the dead are more fortunate than the living, but even better are those who haven't yet been born, for they haven't witnessed all the evil done under the sun. Then I observed that many people are driven to success by envy of their neighbors. But this too is meaningless. Like chasing the wind, fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Yet it's better to have one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing the wind. I've also seen something else under the sun that is meaningless. There's a man who is alone, without a child or sibling, yet works tirelessly to accumulate wealth. He wonders, who am I working for? Why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? It's all so futile and troubling. Two people are better than one, for they help each other succeed. If one stumbles, the other can assist them. But someone who falls alone is in great danger. Similarly, two people lying together can stay warm. But how can one stay warm alone? A person standing alone can be overpowered, but two can defend themselves, and a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. It's wiser to be a young, poor person with understanding than an old, foolish king who rejects advice. Such a youth could rise from poverty and thrive, perhaps even becoming king, though once imprisoned. Yet, as he rises, others rally around yet another youth who replaces him. Endless masses gather around him, but the next generation will abandon him. This too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. When entering God's house, keep your ears open and your mouth shut. It's foolish to offer thoughtless sacrifices to God. Avoid making rash promises or hastily bringing matters before God. After all, God is in heaven and you are on earth, so use few words. Too much activity leads to restless dreams. Too many words make you a fool. When you vow to God, don't delay in fulfilling it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your promises. It's better not to vow than to make a promise and break it. Don't let your words cause you to sin, and don't tell the temple messenger it was a mistake. That would anger God, and he may undo all you've achieved. Idle talk is cheap, like daydreams and other pointless actions. Instead, fear God. Don't be shocked when you see the poor being oppressed by the powerful and justice miscarried across the land. Every official is under orders, and justice gets lost in layers of bureaucracy. Even kings profit from the land. Those who love money will never be satisfied. How meaningless it is to think wealth brings happiness. Workers sleep well, whether they eat little or much, but the wealthy rarely get a peaceful night. There's another troubling issue I've observed under the sun. Hoarding wealth harms the hoarder. Money is invested in risky ventures, and when they fail, everything is lost. In the end, there's nothing left for one's children. We come into the world naked, and we leave it the same way, with nothing. This is a grievous reality. People toil for the wind. Throughout life, they're frustrated, discouraged, and angry. Yet I've noticed something that is good. It's good for people to eat, drink, and find joy in their work during their brief life as a gift from God. It's also good to receive wealth from God and the health to enjoy it. To enjoy work and accept one's place in life is truly a gift from God. God keeps such people so fulfilled with joy that they don't dwell on the past. There is another tragic situation I've seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people wealth, honor, and everything they could desire, but he does not grant them the chance to enjoy these blessings. They die, and someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. This is meaningless, a sickening tragedy. A man might have 100 children and live to a great age, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't receive a proper burial, it would be better if he had been born dead. His birth would have been in vain, and he would have ended in darkness. He wouldn't have even had a name, or seen the sun, or known of its existence. Yet he would have had more peace than an unhappy man. Even if he lived for 2,000 years, he would still not find contentment. And since death is inevitable, what's the point? All people spend their lives working for food, but they never seem to have enough. So are wise people really better off than fools? Do the poor gain anything by being wise and knowing how to conduct themselves before others? Enjoy what you have instead of desiring what you don't. Daydreaming about nice things is pointless, like chasing the wind. Everything has already been determined. It was known long ago what each person would be. So there's no use arguing with God about your destiny. The more words you speak, the less they mean. So what's the benefit? In the few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our time is best spent? Our lives are like a shadow. Who can say what will happen on this earth after we are gone? A good name is more valuable than costly perfume, and the day of death is better than the day of birth. It's better to go to funerals than to parties. After all, everyone dies. So the living should take this to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining effect. A wise person thinks much about death, while a fool only about pleasure. It's better to be rebuked by a wise person than praised by a fool. A fool's laughter vanishes like thorns crackling in a fire. This too is pointless. Extortion makes wise people foolish, and bribes corrupt the heart. Finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Control your anger, for anger labels you a fool. Don't long for the good old days. This is unwise. Wisdom is better with wealth. Both are valuable in life. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything, but only wisdom can save your life. Accept the way God does things, for no one can straighten what he has made crooked. Enjoy prosperity when it comes, but when hard times strike, remember that both are from God. Nothing is certain in this life. I've seen everything in this futile life, including the early death of good people and the long life of the wicked. So don't be excessively good or overly wise. Why ruin yourself? Likewise, don't be too wicked or foolish. Why die before your time? Pay attention to these warnings, for those who fear God will avoid both extremes. One wise person is stronger than 10 leading citizens of a town. No one on earth is always good and sinless. Don't eavesdrop on others. You might hear your servant curse you. After all, you know how often you yourself have cursed others. I've always tried to let wisdom guide me. I said to myself, I will be wise. But it didn't work. Wisdom remains distant and hard to grasp. I searched everywhere to find wisdom and the reason for things. I sought to prove that wickedness is foolish and that foolishness is madness. I found that a seductive woman is more bitter than death. Her heart is a trap, and her hands are chains. Those who please God escape her, but sinners fall into her snare. Here is my conclusion. How wonderful it is to be wise, to analyze and interpret things. Wisdom brightens a person's face and softens its harshness. Obey the king since you took an oath before God. Don't try to evade your duties, and don't align yourself with rebels, for the king does whatever he pleases. His word is backed by great power. No one can question it. Those who obey him won't be punished. The wise find a way to do what is right, for there's a time and a way for everything, even when one is in trouble. Indeed, who can avoid what they don't know is coming? None of us can control the spirit or hold back our death. There's no escape from that duty, and wickedness won't rescue the wicked from it. I've reflected deeply on all that happens under the sun, where people harm each other. I've seen the wicked honored at their burial, yet they had frequented the temple and were praised in the same city where they committed their crimes. This too is meaningless. When crimes aren't swiftly punished, people feel safe to do wrong. But even though a person sins 100 times and lives long, I know those who fear God will fare better. The wicked will not thrive because they don't fear God. Their lives will not grow long like evening shadows. This is not the only futility in our world. Sometimes good people are treated as though they were wicked, and wicked people are treated as though they were good. This too is pointless. So I recommend joy, for there's nothing better in this life than to eat, drink, and enjoy work. That way, they will find some happiness amidst all the labor God gives them under the sun. I searched for wisdom and observed people's burdens. I saw ceaseless activity day and night. I realized no one can fully grasp what God is doing under the sun. Not even the wisest people can comprehend everything, no matter how much they claim to know. This too I explored carefully. Although godly people are in God's hands, no one knows if they will receive favor. The same destiny awaits everyone, whether righteous or wicked, good or bad, clean or unclean, religious or irreligious. Good people face the same fate as sinners, and those who make promises to God are treated the same as those who don't. It's a sad fact that everyone faces the same fate. That's why people often choose their own reckless paths without hope. There is nothing ahead but death. But while there's life, there's hope. As they say, better to be a live dog than a dead lion. The living at least know they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward and are forgotten. Their love, hate, and envy are long gone, and they no longer play a role in anything on earth. So go, eat your food with joy, and drink your wine with a glad heart, for God approves. Wear fine clothes and a splash of cologne. Live joyfully with the wife you love all your fleeting days under the sun. The wife God gave you is your reward for your earthly toil. Whatever you do, do it well, for when you die, there will be no work, planning, knowledge, or wisdom. I've noticed something else under the sun. The fastest don't always win the race, the strongest don't always win the battle, the wise sometimes go hungry, and the skillful aren't necessarily rich. It's all determined by chance, being in the right place at the right time. People can't predict when hard times will come. Like fish caught in a net or birds trapped in a snare, people are suddenly caught by disaster. Here's another lesson that impressed me as I observed how the world works. There was a small town with only a few people, and a great king besieged it. But a poor wise man saved the town with his wisdom. Yet afterward, no one remembered him. So while wisdom is better than strength, those who are poor and wise are often forgotten. Their words are soon disregarded. Better to heed the quiet words of a wise person than the shouts of a ruler of fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner can destroy much good. As dead flies spoil a bottle of perfume, so a little foolishness ruins wisdom and honor. A wise person's choices lead to the right path, but a fool's choices lead to the wrong one. You can recognize a fool just by the way they walk. If your boss is angry with you, don't quit. A calm spirit can diffuse even serious mistakes. Here's another injustice I've witnessed under the sun. Leaders make poor decisions when they give authority to fools and assign low positions to people of true worth. I've seen servants riding on horses while princes walk on foot like servants. When you dig a pit, you may fall into it. When you tear down a wall, a snake might bite you. When you quarry stones, they might fall on you. When you chop wood, you're at risk with every stroke. Sharpening the blade makes the work easier. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. If the snake bites before it's charmed, there's no benefit to the snake charmer. Wise words bring favor, but fools are destroyed by their own words. Fools talk endlessly, making wild assumptions. No one knows the future, and no one can predict what will happen. Fools are so worn out by a little work that they can't even find their way home. Woe to the land whose king is a child and whose leaders feast in the morning. Blessed is the land whose king is of noble birth and whose leaders feast at the right time to gain strength, not to get drunk. Laziness leads to a sagging roof, and idleness leads to a leaky house. A feast is made for laughter, wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything. Don't badmouth the king, not even in your thoughts, and don't criticize the powerful, not even in private. For a bird in the air might carry your words, and a winged messenger might report what you say. Cast your bread upon the waters, and after many days you will find it again. Divide your investments among many ventures, for you don't know what disaster may strike. If the clouds are full, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or north, it stays where it falls. Whoever watches the wind will not plant, and whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind, or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you don't know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. Light is sweet, and it's pleasant to see the sun rise. However many years a person may live, let them enjoy them all. But let them remember the days of darkness, for there will be many. Everything to come is meaningless. Young people, it's wonderful to be young. Savor every moment. Do everything you want to do, but remember that you must give an account to God for all you do. So banish worry and keep your body healthy. But remember that youth and life's pleasures are fleeting. Don't forget your Creator while you are young, before the difficult days come and you say, I find no pleasure in life anymore. Before the sun, moon, and stars grow dim, and clouds return after the rain. Before your legs, which guard your body, weaken and your shoulders stoop. Before your teeth, the few left, stop grinding, and your eyes grow dim. Before the doors of opportunity close, and the sound of work fades. You wake at the first chirping of birds, but their song grows faint. You fear falling, and worry about danger in the streets. Your hair turns white, and you drag yourself along without energy. Desire fades. You're nearing the grave, your eternal home, with mourners at your funeral. Yes, remember your Creator while you're young, before the silver cord of life snaps, the golden bowl is broken, and the water jar shatters at the spring, and the pulley breaks at the well. For then dust returns to the earth, and the spirit returns to God. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, everything is meaningless. The teacher was wise and imparted knowledge to the people. He listened carefully, studied, and arranged many proverbs. The teacher sought to find just the right words and convey truth clearly. The words of the wise are like goads, painful but helpful. Their collected sayings are like firmly embedded nails given by one shepherd. But my child, let me give you some additional advice. Of making many books there is no end, and much study wearies the body. You've stayed until the end. Maybe that means you're meant to see what comes next. Don't miss this chance. Click the video on your screen and uncover the deeper story waiting just for you.